If you are looking to make the job easy, right, this may be a great company. However, just know going into it that you are going to have to pay them long term.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
This episode of the Appraiser Coach Podcast is sponsored by Spark. Spark4appraisers.com is where you go to learn more. Spark4appraisers.com. All right, folks. First of all, I want to make it very, very clear up front. I am not dissing on any particular company. I am not in any way going to mention any companies. Most of them you know of already. Okay. This is more about a principle that I want to teach than any other thing. Okay. Make that clear up front. Again, I think there is, in fact, you will hear me through this episode probably repeatedly say there is a time and a place for these types of companies. Okay. But I want to take the long view today when it comes to temporary services. Okay. Here's what I mean by that. Just this morning, I had one of the All-Star team members reach out to me privately. Actually, it wasn't privately; it was on the forum. So the members only forum in the All-Star team. It's a place where you can ask questions about anything and everything. You're not going to be mocked and made fun of like you do, like you possibly will get on Facebook or other social media platforms. This is a group of elite appraisers who are taking their business to the next level, and there is no shame in asking what may be seen as very simplistic questions, right? Sometimes not, sometimes yes. But these questions that you would be fearful of asking in the social media realm. Well, it's just not that case in the in the All-Star team. You can ask any and all questions, and people do, and it is wonderful. And there's a great supportive group there that are not going to say that's a dumb question. They're going to answer it with confidence that that they can help you and assist you to become better. So that being said, this morning in one of the forums, somebody asked about one of these companies. Now they were specific about the company name. Again, that doesn't matter to the podcast today. But they said, has any of you ever used one of these companies? And they gave the name. And my question was, is this a company that helps appraisers connect with potential employees, or is this a company who you hire and pay as the third party to hire and train and keep them motivated? Now, here's what I mean by this. This specifically had to do with virtual assistants, but folks, I'm telling you, this could apply to anything, okay? But this was a company that connects Americans with Filipinos, okay? Now, there's a couple of different types of these companies, and that's my question to this All-Star team member. Is this one of these companies that will connect you, meaning put you in front of potential employees, and then allow you to hire them? Think Indeed, okay, for overseas Filipinos. Right? Think of a company that will connect resumes with job offers, okay? Potentials with those offering, okay? By the way, we do a little bit of that on Facebook. I'll tell you about that in at the end of the program here, that there's another source for that type of thing. But there are companies out there that connect Americans with virtual assistants overseas. And once you go through the process, you hire them outright and they are your quote unquote employee. Okay, that company that helped connect you, they go off into the background and you're not paying for their services anymore. The service was the connection, right? Again, it's like going on Indeed and paying for a sponsored ad and finding that person, and then you cancel that ad and you move forward with that new employee. Now, this company was a little bit different. The company that this individual asked about was what I would call a third-party company. And basically what that is they go out and they find a bunch of employees, virtual assistants, they train them, and then they connect them with American employers. And they remain a third party throughout the process, okay? So in other words, you pay them a fee, right, per hour, and it's just worked into the whole cost, right? So you're going to pay more per hour for that particular employee, but the upside is you didn't have to go out and find them. You didn't have to train them. You don't have to pay them directly, right? All of that stuff is taken care of for you. I will tell you what my answer was to this individual and when we get back from the break. First, I want to pause and remind you that we're sponsored by a company called Spark. Now, folks, if you're not familiar with Spark, just go to their website, spark4appraisers.com. Let me briefly explain it to you, right? There's been a little bit of confusion on what Spark does. It does not choose data for you, okay? It will not choose your comps. It will not choose the market trends, right? You put in the stuff in your, the criteria, you put in the criteria in the MLS, you choose the comps, and it will take that data and import it directly into your report, whether you're using ACI or ClickForms or a la mode or any number of resources. It will place that data in the report that you're working on. Folks, it is a time saver to say the very least. Check them out. I promise you it is worth whatever you have to pay for Spark. Spark4appraisers.com, again, Spark4appraisers.com. And welcome back to the program, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out once again in the podcast chair. We're talking about connecting you with overseas VAs. And specifically, there's a couple of different ways to find overseas VAs. That's probably the number one question. How do I find these people, Dustin? What are the resources out there? Okay. There's a couple of different, now, there's many different hybrids and different types of things, but basically you can fit these connecting companies into two categories. Either they connect you with the VA and you hire that VA as your direct employee and then they go off into the sunset, or they connect you with an employee that they have found and you continue to pay that third-party person to connect you or keep you connected with that virtual assistant. There are, folks, pluses and minuses, okay? The answer I gave to my All-Star team member who asked the question was very simply, if you are looking to make the job easy, right, this may be a great company. However, just know going into it that you are going to have to pay them long-term, right? There's no buyout option for you to say, okay, in fact, they put things and barriers in place for you to do that. You can't really go outside the realm and say, hey, psst, let me hire you directly and don't tell your employer, right? First of all, that would be unethical, immoral, right? Secondly, that's just not how they work. So you pay, it comes at a cost. So the answer that I gave to this individual is the same answer that I would give here as well, the same principle that I would teach here, right? That if you want to pay for that third party and pay dearly, right? They're not cheap to have that person to be your employee long-term. Well, in the short term, that may be a great idea. Personally, my opinion is if you can find and hire directly, meaning they are your contractor, your employee, right? You can work with them long-term. You set the prices, you set the rules, you set everything else, right? There's some ups and some downs, some pros and some cons, but in my opinion, that's the better way. I promised you I would tell you about a connecting source for you to find anybody with regard to assistance, help, trainees, mentors in the appraisal world. It's called the Appraiser Classifieds group on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, just go to your search bar and type in Appraiser Classifieds and you will find, by the way, it's not just about connecting people, it's also about connecting things. If you're selling a laser measure or an iPad or something related to the appraisal profession, you can find it all at the Appraiser Classifieds on Facebook. Thank you, folks, for joining me as always, and go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.